Okay, so just to give like a 2 week update on where I'm at and what I've learned. Definitely have learned a lot. The system's doing pretty good. Definitely made a lot of mistakes along the way on, and it's really just like the fish side because I've never really kept fish before, and so I'm learning that. And then the fish that I did decide to keep are a little bit more temperamental. They require a little bit of an acidic pH, which kind of complicates things a little bit. It's not too bad, but it just means that like I have to basically cook the water. I have to make the water and let it age before I can add it to the system. And then when I add it to the system, there needs to be a whole process, and it needs to be kind of a slow process in order to not crash the pH. The other thing is the time that I do that is kind of important because, in the middle of the day, that's probably when my pH is the highest. And what I was aiming for and the water that I was using was lower pH, and so I did too much too fast. Basically, the pH kind of at the top end is around 7. It's around neutral. What I was shooting for was actually much lower, and so I was trying to add water that was like 6.5 into a tank that was at like 7, and I just did it too fast, and so I ended up killing like 10 fish. It fucking sucked, but that's just live and learn kind of thing, I guess. Obviously not going to try to do that again. But everything is doing really well. Yeah, so all the plants are kind of thriving. I've added a bunch of cool stuff. I think this thing right here is probably my favorite, the Madagascar lace. And what's really cool is if you see in the background, like this little, there we go, this thing. So it's actually flowering. It's about to bulb, and what's crazy is like I got to watch that thing like kind of shoot across the tank, and now it's actually, let's see if we don't blow it out. That little phallic thing popping around right there is the flower, and so the bulb anyway, and so it should flower. Be interesting to see what it looks like. But it's crazy to me that now it's like popping out of the water, I mean, like that's a lot of energy that it's doing. Definitely have learned of lots of mistakes that I've made. One of the biggest mistakes that's one of the most costly is using dirt as my substrate. I mean, it's capped. I used rock, and it was a financial decision. I did it for money. The aqua soil was going to be about $200, whereas this cost me about $4. What I didn't catch is there's chelated limestone mixed in with the soil to help buffer the pH, and so it's buffering my pH, and it's keeping me above what I would like to be. I think, like I said earlier, it's at like 7, and ultimately I can only get it between 6.8 and 7, which is super frustrating. I'm thinking about adding carbon dioxide or CO2, not carbon dioxide. Yeah, CO2. Adding CO2, and that will benefit the plants greatly, but it'll also drop my pH. Ideally, God, I would love to be at like 6, the pH of like 6. And the reason for that is that's what most plants thrive on. They'll thrive on a little bit more acidic pH. And so in return, by them thriving, that means they're going to be able to pull out more of the nutrients in the tank. And so ultimately, my ultimate goal, 0 water changes, just add top off, and let everything else kind of take care of itself. Let the plants pull out any of the waste that needs to be pulled out. And yeah, make things a lot easier. So right now, I am just only running this guy as the there's a lot of plants around it, but it's really just that black bucket, which is the peace lily. And that's this. And it's crazy. I mean, like, you can see how well it's doing, you know, and I cut this completely back. I mean, chopped it off and then put it in there. And so, like, it's only going to get better and better. I'm having problems, not really necessarily a problem. It's kind of a good problem to have. I can't get the nitrates to show up, and that's just because that thing is so hungry. The other thing is, the fish load is not as much as that I would like, but that's only because I'm early in it. Eventually, I would like to throw some discus in there. I don't know. I'm kind of looking at some, what is that fish called? Congo tetras. They're a bigger fish, and it just means I can feed more, and that's, you know, the ultimate goal. And so, if you look over here, I've got this big tub that's kind of like sitting on the table. So this is the other peace lily that is just being grown in soil. And like, so you see, I mean, I've got like 2-3 leaves. So we got a new leaf here that's coming out. Versus this guy over here that, I mean, I'm not even going to sit and count, but I mean, like, all of this. And that's just because it gets what it needs when it needs it. And that's the beauty of aquaponics. And ultimately, like, I'll put, you know, this thing in there. These guys are actually not part of the system. They're being grown in soil. But when I redo this stand, I'll put them in there and they'll be kind of grown down below. But the other thing is this will be the other side of the aquaponics system, the main side, and which is why I'm kind of freaking out about not being able to get the nitrates to show up on the board. Because if I throw more plants in there, they're just going to need and require more nutrients. And so, you know, I want those nitrates to show up so that I can kind of dial it in. But other than that, everything's doing really, really well. I've definitely had some hiccups with the fish. That seems to be the hardest thing, which you just got to learn, I guess. And unfortunately, to learn, fish got to die. It's sad, but it's just kind of what it is. But the angelfish that are in here now, look, let's see them go at it. There's a bunch of little fuckers. There's some mean ass fish, and they just kind of go at it. But otherwise, everything's doing good. Got about, I think there's 7 of the cardinal tetras. Those are the blue ones, and then there's a little tetra right there, and I put some gold tetras in there. I like the tetras. They kind of school. There they go. And there's, I think, 10 of those. And then, of course, the live bears in the back, the guppies. Then, I mean, the cool thing is like, so that little guy will basically have babies. The one on the right, the fat one, that one right there is pregnant. And so once that drops a fry, then these motherfuckers will eat the fry. And so it's kind of cool. Like I said, I mean, like, I want the system to be kind of self-running, you know, let it kind of take care of itself. You just got to add water is the ultimate plan. But yeah, it's coming along. Definitely learning. The addition of CO2, I think, I haven't decided if I want to go that route. It's definitely just kind of complicates things, but it does bring down my pH. The other thing, of course, that I could do is just restart everything and use that, it's called ADA Amazonian aqua soil, but it's just so expensive. It's $200. And so, I don't know, eventually the pH may lower itself once it, like, you know, kind of sucks out all that, like the calcium and the limestone and that kind of stuff. So I don't know, but it's not bad, you know. That's like optimal is what I'm going for. Like, you know, it's not like it won't run where it's at. I mean, it's clearly running, but to optimize it, and also to watch the terrestrial plants, to watch the plants that are in the aquaponics system like thrive is what I really want to do, and they will absolutely thrive at a lower pH. And so the Monstera delicioso I want to put in there, and then this guy, I guess we can walk around and see him. Go into my bathroom, which I don't know how dirty it is right now. Well. So these two right here, this big guy and then this little guy right here, it's a moonlight philodendron, and they are currently in a deep water culture setup. Please excuse my fucking dirty ass bathroom. But let's see, and I actually do have a little guppy in there. Let's see if we can find him. There he is, or she. So she's pregnant too, and that'll be interesting if she can drop fry it. She's been in there for a little bit. I'm surprised she hasn't, but whatever. But yeah, so these guys are ready to plant in that giant system, and I've got a leaf here in the back that's like just doing awful. And I'm ready to clip it, but I want to wait until right before I put it in the system, and then I'll clip it and throw it in there, and that way it won't be expending energy on it, and it'll be kind of like oh, I've got extra energy and I'm in this new system. So I don't know, hopefully it does well. But yeah, that's a 2-week update. The room itself is kind of coming together. I mean, that was the whole kind of driving force, like have a kick-ass like office room. It's kind of cool. So I got lots of hanging plants, and excuse the blue from the salt water. But that's my hammock right there, and it runs across, and I hang it from up there, which is totally cool because then I can come and watch TV on this bad boy and then kind of stare at both of the fish tanks. So it's coming together. I don't know, like I said, learning a lot. Yeah, running out of money, that's definitely an issue. I got like a career change kind of going on right now, but that's not here nor there. So yeah, that was 2-week update. I'll try to update again in 2 weeks.